Many beautiful actresses exist, but Marlene Dietrich stands out uniquely. Madonna has imitated the sexy icon Marilyn Monroe convincingly, yet couldn't replicate another Marlene Dietrich. So how do we summarize her legendary story? She was an actress, singer, fashion icon, and even a war hero. Today, I will tell you the story of Marlene Dietrich. Marlene Dietrich was born on December 27, 1901, in Berlin, Germany, originally named Marie Magdalene Dietrich. Because her family often affectionately called her Lena, she eventually combined her first two names, Marie and Lena, to form the name Marlene. Unlike the streetwalkers she would later portray as an adult, Marlene came from a cultured middle-class family. Her mother was named Wilhelmine Elisabeth Josephine Gaborine Felsing, hailing from a wealthy family in Berlin that owned a jewelry and watchmaking company. Her father, Louis Erich Otto Dietrich, was a police lieutenant but passed away when she was only 7 years old. In addition to her parents, Marlene had a sister named Elizabeth. Later on, Marlene's father's best friend, Edward von Losch, a noble-born lieutenant, courted and married Marlene's mother. Unfortunately, he passed away in July 1916 during World War I due to injuries. Marlene began learning the violin and piano from an early age, under the guidance of the violinist Bernard Dessau. Simultaneously, she also studied French and English, excelling in memorizing poems. She later described her childhood in her memoirs, saying, "My parents were very wealthy, and I enjoyed the best upbringing." Marlene later pursued violin studies at the Music Academy. This formal education was evident in her later performances, where we often saw her classical eloquence and formal tone on screen. When Marlene was in her teens, she studied under the theatre manager Max Reinhardt and attended a performing arts school in Berlin. Max Reinhardt's highly theatrical style, including spectacular stage lighting and elaborate costumes, later inspired Marlene's performances in music halls. In 1923, she met her future husband Rudolf Sieber on the set of the film Tragedy of Love. On May 17, 1923, Marlene Dietrich and Rudolf Sieber got married in Berlin. Their only child, a daughter named Maria Elisabeth Sieber, was born on December 13, 1924. According to Marlene herself, her talent was only realized after being discovered by Joseph von Sternberg. In 1930, Joseph von Sternberg was hired to direct Germany's first major sound film, The Blue Angel. This film was adapted from the novel by Heinrich Mann and tells the story of a headmaster who becomes angry when his students go to see the cabaret dancer Lola Lola. However, he falls in love with Lola Lola himself, marries her, and subsequently becomes involved in a scandal, ultimately leading to poverty and disgrace. Sternberg believed that these plotlines required an actress capable of challenging social norms with their physicality to play the role of Lola Lola, and this role ultimately belonged to Marlene Dietrich. Afterward, Marlene Dietrich followed the director Sternberg to the United States and signed with Paramount Pictures. In 1930, she received an Academy Awards nomination for Best Actress for her role in the film Morocco. This was her only Academy Awards nomination. Shanghai Express, filmed in 1932, was the most commercially successful film for Sternberg and Marlene Dietrich. However, in 1935, she ended her collaboration with Sternberg. In 1936, Marlene Dietrich declined Goebbels' invitation, despite his promise of a high salary and the freedom to choose scripts and collaborators for her films in Germany. Subsequently, Marlene continued to make films in the United States under the direction of Alfred Hitchcock, Lubitsch, Orson Welles, and Wilder, among others. By the mid-1930s, Marlene Dietrich, along with stars like Greta Garbo and Katharine Hepburn, was referred to by the film media as box office poison because the movies she appeared in didn't perform well at the box office. However, her transformation in the film Destry Rides Again helped her break free from this predicament. In the film, she departed from her usual portrayal as an aloof goddess and became a barroom hostess who sang suggestive songs with a low, husky voice. Over the next few years, Marlene gained even more popularity through songs she performed, often in a singing and speaking style, including the song Lily Moline. In 1939, motivated by resistance against Nazism, Marlene became a US citizen and was eager to contribute her part in the fight against Hitler's fascism. She decided that if she wasn't allowed to fight like a man, she would do her best to serve as a singer as close to the front lines as possible. As an artist during World War II for the USO, Marlene often wore uniforms near the front lines to demonstrate her love for her adopted country. She seemed to greatly enjoy entertaining the troops and traveled around in uniform as an honorary captain. She participated in 2 separate USO tours, the first one alongside comedian Danny Thomas, who helped her learn the tricks of the trade on the road. For the Germans' favorite pin-up girl, singing for the Allies was undoubtedly a propaganda victory. However, this patriotic act was viewed by many in her homeland, Germany, as treasonous. I believe these people overlooked the fact that Marlene was anti-Nazi, not anti-German. In 1947, Marlene Dietrich was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom for her contributions to the war effort. Starting from 1953, Marlene Dietrich almost exclusively appeared on stage as a singer and achieved success worldwide. From 1953 to 1954, she performed on stage at the Sahara Las Vegas Hotel and the Café de Paris in London. Starting in 1955, Burt Bacharach accompanied her in her musical career for about 10 years, helping her transform her image from a nightclub singer to an expressive artist. She no longer appeared in clubs but only in theaters. She toured around the world until the age of 75. At the same time, she was the first German artist to perform in Russia after World War II. Marlene received a warm welcome at concerts in Poland, Russia, and Israel. In Israel, her agent explicitly requested her not to perform songs with German lyrics. Despite this, she spontaneously defied his orders. She said, "I won't sing just one song in German, but 9. Initially, the audience was very shocked, but later they were also impressed by her courage and honesty, and they applauded her. This made Marlene the first singer allowed to perform songs with German lyrics on the Israeli stage. In 1960, for the first time since Marlene Dietrich left Germany 30 years ago, she appeared on stage in her hometown of Berlin. However, people's reactions to this performance were mixed, with both admiration and cries of "Marlene, go home." Therefore, Marlene decided not to return to Germany during her lifetime and said with resignation, "The Germans and I no longer speak the same language." In the 1960s and early 1970s, as Marlene's opportunities to appear in Hollywood films gradually diminished, she performed live more often in theaters and other venues in Las Vegas. Fortunately, she also greatly enjoyed performing on stage. However, later on, Marlene's alcoholism problem worsened. In 1975, during a performance in Australia, she broke her femoral neck, effectively ending her stage career. 3 years later, she made her final appearance in front of the camera, shooting the film Just a Gigolo. After the film was completed, she completely withdrew from public view, retreating to her apartment at 12 Avenue Montaigne in Paris. Until the 11 years leading up to her death, Marlene never left her bed. Her only daughter, Maria, took care of her, and she also hired a secretary and a maid. She would often have a German restaurant cook for her. Apart from her staff and close relatives, no one was allowed into her apartment. She maintained contact with family and friends through the phone, which was Marlene's only connection to the outside world. Nevertheless, she still exerted a significant influence on her surroundings through this medium. Although Marlene spent the rest of her life in Paris, she remained a Berliner at heart. She lived until 1992, witnessed the collapse of the Berlin Wall, and was buried in this newly unified city. She ultimately passed away on May 6, 1992, in Paris due to heart failure and kidney failure at the age of 90. After a large funeral in Paris, Marlene Dietrich was laid to rest in the Städtischer Friedhof III Cemetery in Berlin. On May 16, 2002, she was posthumously awarded honorary citizenship of Berlin.